Now, Kenyans are still reeling from news that the government acquired yet another loan from the International Monetary Fund on Monday. The facility, worth 262 billion shillings, and official figures indicate government borrowing hit record highs in December 2020, even as the pressures of the COVID-19 global pandemic weighed heavily on the economy. KTN's Brenda Kerubo spoke to various experts and now tells us why Kenyans should be concerned about the country's ever-rising debts.
By the end of December 2020, Kenya's public borrowing stood at 7.28 trillion shillings, and that is set to get worse. Just yesterday, Kenya inked a deal with the IMF that will see Kenya get 262.7 billion shillings for post-COVID economic recovery, raising her debt to a whopping 967 billion shillings, which is the sum total of the size of the Burundi, South Sudan, and Malawian economies. So just how worried should you be?
I'm not worried at all. The reason I'm not worried at all is because I do believe the leaders who are there are borrowing responsibly to develop the country.
Taxes will increase, automatically impact on our household level. Secondly, our business will collapse automatically because more things, people will not be able to purchase goods because of escalating debts and also the taxation issue which will be affecting their households.
Ishani affect kwa sababu sahi cost of living iko juu. Si wenyewe tumeshazoea mtu anakutolea hadi 500, unaenda nyumbani unakula unajua hiyo. Sahi hata mtu akikupea mbao ni Mungu.
The national debt level is a measure of just how much the government owes its creditors. President Kenyatta's administration has borrowed heavily since 2013 to fund huge infrastructure projects such as roads and railways. However, the pandemic has seen government borrow more from institutions such as the International Monetary Fund to help it deal with economic challenges occasioned by the pandemic.
But the issue about debt is not about the accumulation of the total debt. I think the issue about debt is within debt servicing, because we have a very high cost of debt servicing. I think 56 out of every 100 shilling collect, 56% goes to paying debts that we've taken all these years.
Since the government spends more than it collects in form of taxes and other revenues, national debt continues to rise. And though most Kenyans may not understand public borrowing as a concept, they relate to the pain of increased taxes.
Tangu nianze hii kazi sijapata wakati mgumu kama huu. Najaribu naenda sokoni, ukinunua bidhaa ukikuja nayo hapa haiendi sawa sawa, kwa maana wateja wengi ni kama wameshajifungia.
Customer wangu wakikuja waambia vitu imeongezeka bei. Waongeze kama ni miji tulikuwa tunauza hii kamkebe 100. Sasa tunawauzia 150.
Majority of the national debt is issued in the form of government bonds, known as treasuries. But government intends to raise at least 123.8 billion shillings from bonds sold to foreigners. Some worry that excessive government debt levels can impact economic stability.
The problem is that we're having a government that spends a lot of money, a very ambitious government. And so we read our budget that we cannot afford. So we find ourselves that you're reading a budget of more than 3 trillion, but your revenues in terms of taxes is 1.5, that's half. So you find yourself that you have to borrow part of that. I think the problem is that we have an ambitious government in terms of spending, and that's where the problem is. Unless we scale down in terms of our spending in government, we will never get out of that problem of debt borrowing.
According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the economy contracted by 5.7% in the second quarter of 2020. This is due to coronavirus. Now, as the government chalks up more debt to try and salvage sectors that have been battered by the pandemic, for Kenyans, it will be a long road to recovery. Brenda Kerubo, KTN News in Nairobi.
You're watching Newsline. Many thanks for staying with us.